Hey, Jerry.
Hey, J-Rob.
How are you?
Good, you?
I'm doing fantabulous.
Do you know what time it is?
I do. It's time for the Jerry and J. Rob Cover It All show.
That's right.
Welcome, everybody. It's a hot, blissful, but a beautiful July 3rd. We got July 4th coming up tomorrow, Independence Day. What are you doing?
I am doing absolutely nothing.
Well, good for you. You need to take a break.
My plan is to do nothing at all.
Yeah?
What do you got going on?
We're meeting with some friends, but other than that, I'm not sure. Probably work at the house. There's no breaks.
I think we're going to try to do something next weekend.
Okay.
After all the craziness settles down.
Yeah, probably be a good idea. Good idea. Where are we at today?
Well, we're at Unshakeable Grounds here in Burnett with some special people, and I'm excited that we get to have them on the show and get to hear a little bit about their story. And we're here today with Mike and Cindy Brown.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Wonderful.
Hey.
Well, you've just treated us with some fancy Unshakeable Grounds coffee. What are we drinking here?
You're drinking a hot Americano.
Okay. Where's it from? Tell us about it.
Jesus. People ask me, where do these beans come from? I know some of them come from Costa Rica, but we have a roaster, Hill Country Roasters.
Uh-huh.
He roasts for Majors and Round Rock Donuts and Hill Country Bible Church, and he was a friend of ours, so he roasts for us as well.
Very good. Very good. So how long y'all been in the coffee business?
6 years.
Yeah, about 6.5 years.
Yeah?
I've never worked in a coffee shop before that, but I spent a lot of time in them.
Well, I used to always tell her that Starbucks had an app to know when she was near. So I figured if we bought her a coffee shop, we might save some money.
Save a couple dollars, huh? No doubt. No doubt. Okay. Well, very good. So how did you get into the coffee business?
Well, you want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it actually starts with our son, Joshua, who passed away 11 years ago in a car accident. But before that, he always talked about the people in Burnett needing to have a safe place to gather and possibly a safe place to hear about Jesus and get loved on. And he always loved coffee, and he said, how about a coffee shop? And I never thought that would ever... Coffee shops, really? I'm not in the business. I don't know anything about it. But I guess about 5 years after Josh passed, my husband comes home from Samsung and says, hey, how about that coffee shop thing y'all used to talk about? And I was like, what? And he didn't even drink coffee. He's a Diet Coke kind of person. So we just started the process of getting into it. I still had never pulled a shot of espresso until 3 days before we opened.
So an unprofessional professional.
Yes, absolutely.
Ready to open up and get after it. But the outcome was what?
The outcome was us falling in love with a town that was associated with so much pain in our lives, but just saw beauty from ashes, just really fell in love with the people here. And people started coming in and saying that this was their safe place. And just seeing that and how that spreads, and people coming in and saying we've never had a place for ourselves here in Burnett. And that just, you think you're doing it for one reason, which I thought it was going to be based around kids. And then God just kind of takes it a whole different direction and says, no, I just want you to be here, be a light on the square, love on people, and see what happens. So we learned at that moment to just take it one day at a time and see where it ends up.
Right. Well, you kind of began with how you got the business started, but let's hear about your story and where you come from. Kind of what was it life like for you, if you don't mind sharing that with us.
Not at all. Well, I grew up in East Austin, and actually I was a drinker ever since possibly first grade, second grade. I was ADHD. No one knew that was in girls back then. They didn't know. I mean, ADHD was never even mentioned. But I was kind of high strung. So alcohol just kind of took the edge off for me. And it was readily available. So I drink a little bit. And then in ninth grade, I overdosed on alcohol. 0.36 or 47, I forgot which one, alcohol. Pumped my stomach out 3 times. Stuffed me full of charcoal for charcoal poisoning. And even then, that wasn't my house burned down that year. My dad left that year. My mom was an alcoholic. And I was just living life one moment at a time, not caring if I would wake up the next morning. And actually, when I was 20, my stepsister, Talitha, invited me to church, and I had a decision to make. I had offers that I could do drugs and just really just live my dream until I burned out, or and she took me to church, and I actually found Jesus at that moment. It was a radical change for me. The next day, I was like, I'm done with all of it. I finally have a reason to live, and so that just changed everything for me.
Very good. Very good.
You know, to hear you say, you know, talk about being an alcoholic in the first and second grade. I mean, that's not something that's usual, obviously, and probably somebody wouldn't even think that could happen. But it was something, like you said, that was readily available, and you felt like at the time was helping you, but it was really just destroying your life.
Yes, it also, when I had my stomach pumped out, it busted all the blood veins in my eyes, and I was, I thought back, I would have never thought of myself as an alcoholic until I saw truth. And then you start filtering everything through that truth, and you start looking back in your life and going, oh my goodness, wow, I was really a messed up kid. And really not, I mean, there was a lot going on around me. I mean, there was a lot of things that you just don't talk about. And I just thought everyone's lives were like that. I mean, I was in a lot of fights as a little girl. I was taught, beat them till they cough up blood, they'll never bother you again. So I was kind of trained like a pit bull. It was rough, and
but it was the environment that you were in.
It was the environment, yeah. And it was you survive, and you move on, and half the people wouldn't even know that was going on in my life, except for the people I was fighting with. It was, I mean, I look back and I'm going, you talk to people in your first reunion, and they're like, oh, I would have never thought of that about you. And I'm just like, well, I guess that's good. I hid it really well, because I had one of those, you come outside, you smile, or else. So you came out, you shined, while you're kind of dying slowly inside. And that's the trajectory of my life. I'm just shocked that I'm here at this age, but now every day is for a purpose.
Right.
So early in life, you had an environment that was against you. You had a culture that was working against you. You had your own inner turmoils that were working against you, and then the vices that you were choosing to deal with. All of those things working against you, and yet here you are today, a successful business owner, happily. You are happily married, right, Mike?
Yeah.
We should have asked that before the show.
But that's an amazing story, and it just goes to show that it can be done.
Absolutely.
Others are doing, and that's why we do this podcast and speak with people like y'all. To show people that others are doing it, they can do it too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week. It would have been so easy just to take the circumstances and crawl under a rock and sulk and feel sorry for yourself. And we've been privileged with speaking with several people on this show about how they've adapted and overcome and continued to persevere and persist and get past those struggles in life. And like I said, I'm not going to toot our own horn, but we've been in that same boat, and it's attractive to us, it's appealing to us, and it gives hope to other people out there as well. So we've heard a little bit from Cindy, Michael. So you tell us about you, where you came from, how you came to know this young lady, and
Scrapper.
Yeah, and where you are today.
Well, I grew up a lot different than she did. My dad was ex-military, and I was born in Fort Carson, Colorado, but then my dad was a Texan, so he got back to Texas as fast as he could. So I've been here in Texas ever since I was 5. And I went to Lampasas schools. And, I had a really laid-back childhood. My parents were both really good parents. And they weren't Christians per se. They were professing Christians, but we didn't go to church or anything. They just, but they were really good to me, and they were great parents. So I had a pretty easy childhood, pretty easy life. And then when I was a senior in high school, I started singing in a rock band, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a rock star," So I started singing in metal bands and all this kind of stuff.
All right, so I gotta stop you.
Okay.
What kind of music were we hearing? What were we singing back then?
Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, stuff like that.
All right,
So, and
just check it. I can't agree to like or dislike it.
Yeah.
I'm just
The
saying.
hard stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because it's like when I was 12, before all that, a little Baptist church bus going around out, and we lived out in the country, went around picking up kids, taking them to church, and I went to some Baptist church in Lampasas. I don't even know which one it is, but we all professed Jesus, got baptized, went home. Parents didn't even know about it. And but then, like I said, later, so did I get saved then? I don't know, but I always talked to Jesus and I always prayed, even as a small kid, But like I said, when I became got in a band when I was in high school and stuff, wanted to be a rock star and all that kind of stuff. And I started getting into drugs and stuff like that, and became a pretty bad, drug addict and stuff, and alcohol and stuff like that, And
His stuff even shocked me.
yeah.
Just like,
So I just kind of went crazy after high school, more or less, And then, God saved me from drugs. I was shooting up with all kinds of stuff and doing all kinds of bad stuff. And when I turned to God, there was a Bible in my room, and I opened it up, and I still don't even know where the verse is now. It was in the Old Testament. And basically, I was just saying, God, what do I do? And I just opened up the Bible, and I said, get out of the place you're living in. And so I did. And God took away the drug use, took away everything, So I went to church, rededicated my life, and then I met Cindy, and we got married. We had 2 beautiful kids. And
Where'd y'all meet at?
at New Hope Baptist Church in Cedar
Okay,
Park.
all right.
in the singles department.
Yeah.
Good place to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everything was going great, and I started getting promoted and doing really well at work and stuff, and working at Samsung, and a lot of the upper management would go out and drink and stuff, and so it's kind of like the culture, So I figured, hey, I'm an ex-alcoholic and drug addict, but I can socially do this now,
I can control it.
So I messed up again. And had this, I guess, this midlife crisis or whatever you want to call it.
He only
And-
gets one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started drinking and doing stuff again and acting like a fool. And there was a lot of what Sydney would call shots over the bow from God. I lost a job, I lost a house. Our daughter got sick. Just all kinds of these things. Our house in Cedar Park was hit by lightning 3 times. So all these things were happening, and yet I still just kept on living that way. And it took Josh actually being killed to straighten me up, because I quit drinking the day he died, which was March 20th, 2011.
Can you go a little bit more specifically into that, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
I know that's tough.
Huh?
I know that's tough.
Yeah. Josh and I both were really, really close. We would. I never drank really in front of him. I always wanted my kids to not be like me, So I was never, a bad example in front of him. But he knew when I'd come home and could smell it on me. He wasn't stupid, And so I would always tell him, I don't ever drink and drive and things like that. And I said it's just like playing Russian roulette, And so we'd always have great talks about Jesus, because he had an atheist friend that he hung out with. He was actually the kid that he was in the car wreck with. And he would have, discussions with him. Then he'd come back and talk to me and say, well, he said this, what about that? And we'd talk about things in the Bible to prove, that God exists and why.
All along doing this other lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it was funny because my son and I had this kind of arrangement between each other. We said, if one of us stops drinking and smoking, the other one has to stop drinking and smoking. So when he got in his car accident, I stopped, And so,
What'd you say? Because I know he's not drinking now.
Yeah. And, it's like at first, you just wow, I've ruined everything. It's all for nothing, everything's, And, one of my favorite verses in Hebrews is the 12. One of my favorite chapters is Hebrews 12, because it talks about, if you're not a child of God, you won't be chastened by him, And so I really.
He ain't illegitimate. We know that for certain.
And my son and I were so much alike, because it's like when he was small, I don't know, 5th or 6th grade or something, we went to Hill Country Bible Church for a father-son little Bible study thing we were going through, and one of the guys asked, he said, your parents, they only give you a whooping because they love you. And my son was like, well, my dad must love me a lot. and so I think about that with God, it's like I really think he does love me a lot, to basically all the things I did to run from him and turn from him and defy him and disobey him, he still loved me. And even though our minds can't comprehend the way he works, he's so far above us, it's still I have a lot of peace with knowing that, I'm going to see Josh again. Like King David said, he won't come back to me, but I'll go to him. So,
Right.
Nothing for nothing.
That's right. So in every situation, something of good and value.
Yeah. And, all through this, falling back into alcohol and doing a lot of stupid stuff and, just ruining everything. I had a very biblical woman who stood beside me and had every reason to not, so.
Very good. Very good. So what are some of the things that you guys have encountered starting this business that you didn't expect? What's some things that caught you off guard?
Well, we didn't know it was going to be nonprofit.
Yeah, people always ask us, "Is this a nonprofit?" We're like, "Well, not
Not by
intentionally,
choice.
but what
Well,
else?
I think what's amazing to me is if you saw the books, you'd be like, there's no way this is still here. Because nothing on the books really makes sense. We have ran on a budget, like paying the girls and having $500 in the account and paying them and, oh no, it's going to go under, but then something happens and by the end of the month, the bills are paid. And I'm just like, okay, so this isn't even reliant upon me. Just do my best, serve people, love them. And we've gotten a lot of, backlash, and we've had people yell at us because we didn't want advertising. What company doesn't want more money? We don't have it in our budget. But it's fine because it's word of mouth and the right people will find us.
Yeah.
And we'll love on them when they get
We've also
here.
found that there's a lot of universalism where a lot of churches around here really want to all come together to be like, and we're not for that. We believe in what the Bible teaches, and if this denomination is teaching something that's not biblical, then we're not going to be with that. So we've lost a lot of Christian people, because today's evangelical church is so full of the prosperity gospel and stuff,
Right.
So it's like it's everywhere.
Right.
So at first, when we started the coffee shop, they're all like, and we're like, well, we don't believe in the prosperity stuff. They're
Everybody's out.
But what's awesome is it's opened up to the people that we're really here for, the people who have no hope. Right after we opened and a little story came out that we had lost a son, someone walked in and walked straight to the counter crying, saying, I lost a child too. But it was 20 years prior, and she still was barely walking out of her house. And I'm like, this woman's believing a lie. It just blew my mind. I always wanted to be a counselor, and I always told Michael, but I want to be a free counselor.
Well, there you
I
go.
didn't know it was going to look like this.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of free counseling now.
You got coffee. That's all the meds you need.
Yeah.
So
There you
you're right. You're right. That's exactly in our business we have a complete mind shift about stuff, and something that I've learned over the past 5, 6, 7 years is that there's always somebody watching. You may never know. You may never meet them. You may never understand anything to do with them, but you will have an influence in their life one way or another. And somebody is always watching, somebody's always pulling something, seeing what you're doing and seeing how you're handling a certain situation. And they do it from afar because they don't want to come and approach you. They may. You might get lucky and know that one day. I've been lucky enough to have that happen a couple times in life where somebody has said, you know what, I saw this 4 years ago, or I saw you do this many years ago, and this is how it affected me. Well, that's amazing to be able to know that. Sometimes we get that blessing to know. Most of the time we don't. But this is a perfect example. You had a crisis, adversity, and somebody else knew about it, and you gave them a blessing in the process. So well done. What else you got?
So, having come from two different backgrounds, and yet having dealt with some of the same issues with addictions and overcoming tragedy, both individually and together as a family, and then making something out of that, a ministry out of it that God is using and God is blessing, obviously, like you talked about. Sometimes it doesn't make sense how we're still here, but God keeps providing. Well, anytime it's a work of God, God's going to provide for what he puts in place, and I believe that totally. But along the lines of, ministering to others and encouraging others, can you give us some wisdom, some truth, some advice, some encouragement, whatever you guys got, to tell our audience? I'm sure that there's going to be people listening to this particular episode.
At least
going,
four.
yeah,
Pretty
at
sure
least
it's at
four. And that are going, wow, that's an amazing story. I've been through something similar, but I'm not as far along in my healing maybe as y'all have come, and or just need that extra love. So can you give the audience something?
Do you want to go first?
Well, I mean, definitely, I would say, because your spouse is one of your best counselors and encouragers and things like that. Because when we were a young family and Josh was little, he'd always be like, let's read the Bible, and we were just like, yeah, and we would sometimes, and then other times be like, well, later, and stuff like that. And so now we've realized just how important it is to get into the Word, because if you're not being fed by the Word, you're going to be dying. So that would be my biggest thing to encourage people, is get in the Word, read the Bible, pray, and do what it says. Not just hearers, but doers.
Sure.
Because that's.
And for me, with the things I've touched on and all the other things I've gone through, I would say that don't look at your life by that moment, because that moment will pass. You'll get through it. You'll be stronger for it. Find people who will walk through it with you. It's all about getting in the ugly. And then walk through the fire and see what God can do on the other side, because He makes all things beautiful in their time. I can guarantee you absolutely whatever you are going through, God can make it beautiful. And for me to say that the day our son saw Jesus was probably the best day of our lives, and how odd that may sound, come talk to me and I will share with you what I mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a profound statement in the sense that it has a lot of deep meaning. But in no way interpret that as
no.
We're not in pain every day from it. I mean,
Yeah,
we're still.
it's always right here.
It's always hurting. It's not like you ever get over it. It's like losing an arm or something. You just learn to work with one arm.
Dealing with it, and the grace of it,
and
so on and so forth,
and
trucking
seeing
on.
the beauty every day that God can. I always tell people, cry. Go ahead and cry. Don't be afraid to cry, because you think you're never gonna stop. Cry, and then look back and watch a flower pop up everywhere a tear fell. I mean, it's just that's what has happened in our lives, and I really believe God would do that for anyone.
Okay, all right, very good. So, in addition to obviously God's number one, but what other maybe secular stuff would you say to other business owners about running a business, operating a business, starting it up? What are some of the things you've had to overcome and kind of repivot on?
Go ahead.
I'm sure there's a lot.
Oh my goodness. Again, I would say take it one day at a time, because it can be very overwhelming when you have this much budget and then you realize an espresso machine costs half that budget.
Yeah.
You're like, how's this going to work? If you really felt like you want to do it, it's going to take sacrifice. And then you have to decide, is that sacrifice worth it? And then go in for the long haul. Don't think, if this doesn't work in 6 months, we're out. Because I don't know of anything that just works in 6 months.
Yeah, and from day one, it's never really been about making money. It's always been the ministry, and that kind of helps us in the sense that even if we're not making a lot of money, it's like, well, it's because it's a ministry. It's like we're here for.
That's why he's working
outside.
of it.
I work outside, to keep it going and stuff. And so I mean, it always stays just enough in the black. And now that I'm working in Austin again, so we're doing fine now. But it's a ministry, and so like when it gets hard, when we remind ourselves about that, it's not, we're not trying to be, Starbucks or anything. We're just trying to be a ministry.
Yeah,
so.
but also on the secular side, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Ask for help. Ask for people to get involved in it. And then it even makes it richer for you personally, because you know that a lot of people believed in you and backed you in it, and get to say, I got to help that.
Well, with that in mind, I will give a shout out some marketing for our friend down there in Marble Falls, Alex, who owns Numinous Coffee Shop. He because we opened up on April 9th of 16?
Bluebonnet Festival weekend.
Yeah, some really wise person said, let's open up on Bluebonnet Festival. I think it was her.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was me. Anyway, so we opened up and it was just crazy. And Alex came up here and he actually showed us how to do stuff. And he worked that
7 or 8
whole day.
hours.
And it's like.
And we barely knew him.
Yeah,
I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, he was
cool.
awesome. So,
Take
So,
it
but
where
it
you get
even it made it richer, and it formed a really good relationship, and then you get, hopefully you get to help them at times as well. But
Okay.
I don't know how I could help him, 'cause he's kind of got it down.
yeah.
All right.
So setting goals, forming relationships, and just not quitting when the going gets
Yeah.
tough.
And enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I'd like to re-echo that not quitting part, because that's what everything comes down to, is the perseverance
Persevere, yeah.
and pushing through. You're a year into it, you're 2 years into it. Look, if you're a business owner or you're trying to be a business owner, it's tough. It's especially tough right now.
Yeah.
You've got to keep pushing and digging if you want to be successful with that. So keep moving forward. Okay, so you've kind of told us your story. You told us your business, kind of how you got where you are at this point in life. What is the future of Unshakable Grounds and the Browns?
Well, the future of Unshakeable Grounds is totally in God's hands. It's one day at a time. We could be here another week. We could be here another 10 years. I don't know. It's up to God. What's in store for us is just daily loving each other and serving Him and trying to glorify Him in all our whatever we do.
Yeah, this year will be 32 years for us.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Congratulations.
Even through all of that,
Yeah.
which is, a lot of people think it's crazy. One of Joshua's friends, after he passed away, said, y'all don't even make sense. Y'all shouldn't even be together. And I was like, well, it's not about us. So, but yeah, and here, we, it's always changing, and my heart just kind of pounds, and so I let the girls in the back. I basically told them, if it's not tied down, you can do whatever you want with it, because they're hip. I'm old, so I just kind of like, okay, and they'll kind of run it past me. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And,
right now, especially with COVID and all that kind of stuff, you can see all these businesses struggling with finding good help. God's really blessed us
Yeah,
with really
it's a
good
tremendous
help.
struggle.
It's
Yeah.
good.
yeah.
Well done, well done. Okay, so you guys are open Monday through Saturday, right? What are the hours?
7 to 3 Monday through Friday, and 9 to 2 on Saturday.
Okay. You have a website.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the website?
Unshakeablegrounds.com.
Unshakablegrounds.com.
Yeah.
Okay, all one word there. Here we go. All right.
And you got great coffee?
You do have good coffee.
Thank you.
Yeah, she knows her coffee. That's for sure.
Well, I just know what I like.
Yes. And that was one thing we really learned is when we first started up, it's like some people would love our coffee and some people would hate it. And we thought, oh my God, she would get all down, think she's horrible and stuff. But
I didn't know.
people like different things, That's just what
Right.
you got to realize, So, yeah.
Well, you got a couple of coffee connoisseurs here, so we think it's pretty good. So,
Thanks.
well done to your business and to the success you've had. Even though it may not be a giant dollar bills in the pocket, it's a success in a different way. And,
Yes, absolutely.
that's more value at the end of the day, anyway.
Yeah.
So, thank you for having us. Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank you.
opening up
Yeah.
your store and your time, and your lives to us. We appreciate getting some insight from you. And we certainly look forward to being here on Wednesdays. We're here every Wednesday, by the way. If you want to come by, you can come hang out with us.
Yeah,
We should
Wednesday
hang out with
morning's
Jerry's.
usually around 8 o'clock.
Yeah, around 8 we're here.
Faithfully, they're here.
What else you got? Is that it?
That's all I got.
Okay, so tomorrow's the 4th. I want to give a special thank you to you military, first responders, all you guys having to work tomorrow, nurses, hospitals, EMTs. I got to say EMT because we get mad at us.
Yeah.
We want to thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. We know that the Independence Day is possible because of you and the sacrifices you
Absolutely.
make. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. If you are looking to be a little bit healthier, which Jerry's still on his road to making it happen, he's doing a great job. We would love to help you with that. You can find us at synergistic-strategies.com, or you can send us something to Jerry and J Rob coveredall@gmail.com. We'd love to talk to you and hear about anything that you want to comment on the shows, even if it's bad. It's okay. Other than that, that's all I got. Have a happy 4th of July, and we'll see you next week.
See you then.
Thank you.